Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Work in the Time of Coronavirus. We've all been inundated with COVID-19. Everything you see, read, or hear is all about the disease. Well, today, we're going to focus on what we can do to work around the challenges of COVID-19. So here we go. Here's a few of the topics we're going to cover today. Different strategies for remote access to your IT resources, tools for efficient remote communications, making sure your remote work is secure. You're also going to learn how to keep your business up and running, how we, CTTS, can help you, and how to get answers to your questions. I've had the privilege to meet many of you in the community and at chamber events, but for those of you that don't know me, my name is Josh Wilmuth, and I am the CEO of Central Texas Technology Solutions here in Georgetown. We are a managed service provider that monitors, maintains, and protects the IT needs of hundreds of businesses and nonprofits around Central Texas. Let's start by acknowledging the obvious. We are in new territory. The SARS epidemic of 2003 only had about 8,000 cases. You would have to look back to the year of 1918 and the Spanish flu for an epidemic of similar impact. And of course, things have changed a lot since then, which brings me to today's main subject, working remotely. Just a few weeks ago, this was how most of us worked. The majority of our staff was located in our office with the occasional person working from home. Today, most offices look like this. For personal safety, many businesses have sent their employees home. Let's face it, most of us closing our business entirely for an extended period of time is not an option. We need to keep operating, serving our customers, and paying our employees. So how do we do that? And that's why we're all here today, to find out the most effective solutions for riding out this epidemic with our business intact and secure. So let's dive in. In order to make remote workforce effective, we need four things. We need our employees to be able to access all necessary IT resources, whether that's critical application, a database, or just documents and spreadsheets. It all needs to be accessible remotely. We need to facilitate communications between our employees who are now working across a highly dispersed geography. We also need to combine communicating effectively with our customers and suppliers. And finally, we need to make sure whatever temporary infrastructure we put in place is just as safe for malware, ransomware, viruses, and so forth as our office infrastructure. So let's start with remote access. There are three common ways we set up remote access for our clients. The first is what we call remote workstations. Basically, this is our way of connecting to a remote computer within your office from your home computer. The second method is using a VPN, or a virtual private network. This is a way of connecting your computer at home directly to your office network. And finally, the third option is to move all of your critical infrastructure to the cloud. So let's dig a little deeper. Many of you are already familiar with remote desktop technologies like GoToMyPC, LogMeIn, TeamViewer, or Remote PC. What they do is allow you to connect to a remote computer, one that's fully connected to your network with access to all the software and files you require. This approach has the benefit of being easy to set up and expand, as well as having minimal security risks. That's because your home computer never actually connects to your office network. Only the remote workstation program does that. On the other hand, this technology can be slow, depending on the speed of your internet connection and what else is going on. For example, if other people in your house are streaming movies, that could impact the performance of your remote workstation software. It also doesn't offer the same screen resolution and clarity as being in your office. For most users, it's inadequate for short-term use. But if you're contemplating a permanent or long-term work from home strategy, you might want to consider an alternate solution. VPNs overcome a lot of the negatives associated with remote workstations. For many applications, speed is not an issue when you rarely have to deal with screen resolution issues. VPN software is also very secure, making it all but impossible for a hacker to access your systems. However, on the other side of the coin, it's not so positive. If your home computer has a virus or other infection, connecting to your office on a VPN, no matter how secure that VPN may be itself, could introduce malware to your network. The other challenges with VPNs is that they can quickly be finicky to set up and work reliably. But once they're working, they're a great solution. subject to the security concerns we're going to discuss here in a few minutes. Which brings us to the third option, moving to a totally cloud-based infrastructure. It's probably safe to say that this is the direction that most businesses are moving toward. With cloud-based infrastructure, you can connect any computer and be working within minutes. But I think it's also safe to say that only a small percentage of organizations have completely migrated to the cloud. In some instances, doing this is difficult or impossible. Some software applications, for example, don't really lend themselves to being in the cloud. And sometimes running the same application in the cloud can be considerably more expensive than an on-premise solution. And finally, connecting a home computer to the cloud has many of the same security risks as a VPN. If your home computer is not properly secured, it could become a portal for corrupting your cloud data. If you're working from home and you're either using a VPN or a cloud-based solution, here are some of the things you need to think about, especially if you're using your home computer, rather than using a computer you brought from the home office. Only use a commercial antivirus, something that isn't free. Scan your computer before using it. You want to make sure that the machine is clean from any virus activity. Don't allow others to use your work computer. That includes the kids. Make sure your Wi-Fi is secure. Do your neighbors have your wireless password? Considering other protections such as multi-factor authentication and firewalls. But even if you're using your work computer or if you're using the remote workstation solution, you're not invulnerable. Here are some things to think about. If there are other people at home who are connected to the same network, how protected are their computers? Even if you have lots of protection on your computer, an infected computer on the same network could cause all the same kinds of grief. And I mentioned it earlier, but how safe is your Wi-Fi? Is it secure to the same standards as your office? Do your kids even give the Wi-Fi password to their friends? Anyway, these are things to keep in mind when you're working remotely. So now we've discussed the pure IT issues. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about communication. And when I say communication, I'm really talking about two very different, equally important processes. The first is helping your team to stay in touch. It goes without saying that face-to-face meetings are pretty much impossible in the current climate. So we're going to talk about some tools for keeping the lines of communication open. The second communication conduit is your connection to your customers and your suppliers. Now, for the most part, those are always remote communications. But how do you maintain an uninterrupted flow of communications when your staff is working from home? So let's start with team collaboration. The good news is there are some great tools out there that specifically designed for this, and some of them are even offering limited free subscriptions. Both Slack and Microsoft Teams were designed for team collaboration. You can set up channels for specific subjects and control who has access to those channels. You can also upload and download files or even save them back to the platform. Microsoft Teams also includes video calling, while Slack can be integrated with other software to provide similar capabilities. Zoom is a meeting platform that can be used for webinars, but it's also more often used for online meetings with a video if you wish. And here's some really good news. Both Slack and Zoom offer free editions. Those free editions have some limitations, but for many small businesses, those limitations are not significant. For example, the free version of Zoom limits calls to 40 minutes and doesn't have the ability to record them. As far as Microsoft Teams, if you currently have a Microsoft Office 365 Business Essentials, Business Premium, or Enterprise license, you already have a license for Teams. Teenagers stay in touch with each other by text, but businesses depend on good old-fashioned telephones. So how do you make sure when you're staying in touch with your customers and suppliers when everyone is working from home? Let me make one suggestion: Voice over IP. With Voice over IP, you get lower costs. The bottom line is vital for every business, large or small. So you have to consider every cost-saving opportunity. Another way is increased accessibility. Cost efficiency aside, accessibility is one of the biggest benefits of VoIP for businesses. One distinct advantage cloud-based VoIP services offer is the ability to make calls from anywhere. And lastly, when working remotely, its flexibility is huge. Having the ability to make a phone call with a traditional desk phone, an app on a smartphone or a tablet, or even an application on a computer. Now, we've gone through quite a few things there, but just before we finish up, I want to mention that we've put together a checklist that will help you and your organization get ready for remote work. You can download it at cttsonline.com/COVID-19. Reach out to me today and let me know how I can help. You can find my email, my phone number, and our website again here. Lastly, I hope you got some value from this presentation and you take advantage of the free resources. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at the next chamber meeting.